Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of June 19th, 2022. This is episode 181. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. First off, is week of June 19th, Juneteenth. But besides that, it was also Father's Day. So we had a number of different events going on this weekend. But I've focused in on the Father's Day aspect. I put the poll back out. The poll's back. Let the people know that the poll is back. And this one went over very well. A lot of responses. My initial question I just put out there was, who is your ultimate Disney dad? And the selections I gave was Walt, Iron Man / Tony Stark, Anakin / Darth Vader, or others, for you to list your own below. And I got quite the response. Number of people vote for Walt, people vote for Iron Man, people vote for Anakin. And then I also got several people adding in Goofy. I had other people adding in Marlin from Finding Nemo, Drake Mallard from Darkwing Duck, Din Djarin from Mandalorian, and Jango Fett from the Clone Wars. The responses just kept coming, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for your input. It's still up on it, though it may have ended on Twitter. I think you can still comment if you want to put in your 2 cents, who you think. It's still up on Facebook, where you can keep adding your comments and who you think is a wonderful Disney. I mean, there's so many. It's a low question, and that's why this week I'm not going with the percentages like I normally do. Because they're all great answers. And each one of them is a fantastic example. I mean, you could even put Tim the Toolman Taylor, Tim Allen's character from Home Improvement on there. There's so many great examples. And thank you for everyone who participated. If you didn't get a chance to, and you go, hey, wait, don't forget about this guy. Go into our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels podcast, and add yours there, or on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. You'll find our poll on there as well, and add it in. Or you can put it on Instagram at Disney Marvels podcast. So all of those. Thank you, everyone who answered, and to all the fathers out there. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful Father's Day. I hope you got to spend time with your family and got time to relax and enjoy, again, the family time, which is the essence of being a father. So, on that note, we'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Hi Disney Marvels fans, my name's Tash and my BFF Mercedes and I make a weekly podcast dedicated to all things Disney. From music, movies and food and parks to fun weekly challenges, we discuss it all over at Chat Disney. You can find us on Instagram at Chat Disney or Twitter at Chat Disney UK. We release weekly episodes every Monday morning, which can be found on Spotify and the Apple Podcast app. Bye for now.
And now, on with the show. Space can be a fickle friend. Sometimes find partners and people that can help you mysteriously, and then they disappear. Other times you find really crabby old gentlemen who boss people around. And then there's other times you just find people dressed all in black that want to kick your butt. Speaking of butt kicking, I have Isaac along with me today to discuss Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5. Isaac, welcome aboard. Let's see if we can get off this planet without being destroyed by a Sith Lord.
I hope so, and I'm happy to be back. So, hey, man, I'm always happy to be back on Disney's Marvels, man. One of the best Disney / Marvel podcasts on the planet. Yes, I said that. So any other people listen to other podcasts, I'm sorry. They're not that good, all right? This is the one that you need to be listening to.
Oh, boy.
So, I know.
Oh, boy.
That's... If you don't see it, Matt is now sweating bullets because I put him on here.
I did say butt kicking, didn't I? The emails can be sent to isaacsagu@.
Oh, really? Oh, no. It's like... all words are said are not a part of Matt. Gotta put that disclaimer.
All opinions and commentary are those of the opinion holder and steer.
Is alone.
No. We have a lot of esteemed friends out there that put on a fantastic show. We just are humbled to be playing in the same sandbox.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on. Always great to have you on. Always adds for wonderful content and good times. And enough with the pleasantries. Yeah, Obi-Wan. I haven't gotten your take on the past. We're on 5, so 3 and 4. What do you think of the series so far, leading up into this one?
To be very nice to the series. Here's where I feel right now in terms of Obi-Wan. At moments, it's great that we can go back to revisit the Skywalker timeline because I'm starting to, and it's fun, and I know that a lot of fans enjoy the Skywalker sagas because at the end of the day, it is the pivotal point of Star Wars. But I do feel like it has its limits of what you can do in terms of storytelling. I feel like if you were writers out there in terms of what they can do with it, you have to work within certain perimeters, that way it doesn't cross certain areas of story. So to that effect, you kind of feel like at times the story feels very limited in what you can and what you can do because you have to meet certain beats. So like you can't go over certain things. So you try to, I know, even though as writers say we can kind of make up anything that we want within the time frames, or we can kind of borrow material that's existed before the LucasArts merger to Disney. So maybe some materials making their way back into Disney's canon of the Star Wars universe. But I just feel like at times the writing can be very, very I don't want to say lackadaisical. I don't want to say it feels very simple. Now I don't know if it's trying to hit the same beats as in terms of what happened between the scene writing that was happening in the episodes, the Star Wars episodes, which I don't know if anybody. I think we've been on this podcast a lot how we feel about the writing that's been done with Star Wars episodes. So I feel like they're trying to find that. I think they're trying to find the same consistency with those episodes, with the Star Wars episodes leading into Obi-Wan, and at just moments it just feels very like. It really can't go into much detail to what they're given right now because I feel like there's just certain moments where it's like you feel like okay, the beats that would make dramatic moments you really can't say because it would ruin your history. And I apologize, I feel like I'm all over the place still trying to organize my thoughts, but yeah, I just think Obi-Wan just feels very limited as a series in terms of writing, in terms of plot development, in terms of what you can honestly do, in terms of action sequences, in terms of like lightsaber duels, which usually is the biggest draw to any Star Wars, if not anything Star Wars lightsabers. And I can't seem to get involved. I can't really get into the action that's been displayed right now in terms of this at the moment. And I think and then I think another question I would also bring is like bringing back certain actors like Mr. Darth Vader himself,
Hayden Christian.
And Christian, like you feel like you try to, and I think it's great that they bring him back, and especially for what we'll talk about in episode 5. But other than that, you really don't understand why they needed him back, because 95% of the time, you know exactly what the fates of everybody. So, and on top of that, you bring back the GOAT and James Earl Jones to revoice his voice. So that really leaves him,
actually,
it leaves him very kind of open at the moment. But finish what were we going to rebut on that?
It's credited to James Earl Jones, but it's not.
It's not James Earl Jones.
Right.
Okay, that's fair enough.
It's a computer program synthesizer.
But that's fair. But even if that were to be the case, that still leaves this still leaves the actor you brought back was a very limited things to do, other than him maybe being in the actual Darth Vader suit and doing the motions in the mocap with them voicing Earl Jones' synthesizer voice over it. It just kind of feels like, okay, what was the whole point of it? It didn't. It's a nice gesture that they brought him back. That they really don't need him. But if they were going to do that, I thought we were going to see more backstory.
Right.
But then again, if you've had followed Star Wars up to this point, you already know a lot of the backstory. So what is there left to tell about? Which makes this series very limited in what they can do.
I get it. In some ways, I kind of felt the same. In some, maybe not quite as strongly, but like there's the lightsaber duel at the end of 3, and to me, it didn't do anything. I was talking to Matt Leonard about this. It didn't do anything because that everyone comes out of this intact.
Yeah.
So there's no real tension to hold me, other than a lot of flashiness and stuff, and displaying of anger, and it just. I don't know. A lot of people liked episode 3. For me, it wasn't one that did for me. Which you loved it. Good for you. I'm glad that you loved it. It wasn't quite there for me. 4 I enjoyed better. But that we're getting a little more back into pace on. I mean, yes, okay, you're rescuing Leia again, but you're exploring again a little more of the universe. You're getting a little more of things that are happening. You have more signs of the rebellion or people starting to push back and step up to push against these forces that are trying to take over or have taken over the universe. So, or the galaxy in their case. So you got a little more, you got more stuff going on there, and you had just a little more tension, and Kenobi rediscovering himself, and that's the whole purpose of this is the journey of Kenobi. Going from a man lost to a man who's rediscovered himself, and you have a lot more of that happening in 4, which is why I enjoyed episode 4 so much. Now we have episode 5. So that being said, let's talk episode 5.
Let's do it.
So we start off. We start off with a flashback, which I was happy to see. I wasn't expecting it, but let me just say now, episode 5 is kind of where I was was expecting the series to go a lot sooner than 5 episodes into a 6-episode run. I was expecting to get this at least episode 3, if not episode 2, where we're getting some flashbacks and the way that the indirect nature of the chase.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I've expected the show to be, and we finally get here 5 episodes in. So we get the flashback. We have younger, quote unquote, Anakin versus a quote unquote younger Obi-Wan dueling, and you have the teaching of the lessons in the duel, and that theme kind of goes throughout this entire episode.
Correct. Before you continue on this,
yes.
Did you feel did they do any de-aging for that moment? Because I felt like they didn't. I felt like when you looked up close for both Ron McGregor and Christensen's faces, it seemed like they kept them relatively the same. It didn't feel like they de-aged them just for that moment. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I didn't look at it hard enough, or I didn't pay much attention to it. I don't know, or maybe you caught it, because I felt like they were basically their respectable ages.
To me, I was trying to figure that out. It didn't look like they were.
Yeah.
So if they were trying to, they didn't really get there. But just pulling up a more recent picture of Ewan and Hayden next to each other, there isn't much difference. Maybe they did a little makeup work to try and soften Hayden's face, but they looked like they do now. Yes, which I thought was kind of a strange take, because that shouldn't have been. That was 10 years ago, at least.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to cut you off slightly again. I think this also kind of goes into, okay, well, we did bring back Hayden back for this series, so at least we have to show him off, in some form or text within this episode, and and maybe you're right. Maybe not de-aging him would take away from bringing this character back, other than the slight appearance that you got with him in, I believe, was episode 2, where Obi-Wan was kind of having delusions of seeing Anakin in the desert and then disappearing. So, but I apologize for that.
No, don't. I guess they're trying to just let you know that this is me just completely speculating here, that this duel happened towards the end, right before episode 3, so just before everything went down, and just showing the aggressive nature of Anakin Skywalker even at that point. This aggressive nature was something that he has carried with him for a while, even before Vader, even before Order 66.
No.
So that's my guess. That was my take on it. But I thought it was again, the parallels that they ran between the flashback and the current time, I thought were very nice, very well done, and really helped progress the nature of things, the nature of the chase and the duel between Vader and Kenobi. It's kind of like a dance. This dance that these two characters are doing, and this flashback emphasizes, or these flashbacks, because there's multiple of them through it, really help
emphasize.
Thank you. These the tension and what's going on. There's callbacks. So you're like, how do you know he's going to do that? Yeah. And then you get the flashback of part of the battle and Anakin doing a certain something, Kenobi telling him, this is going to be your undoing. You can't be doing stuff like that. This is not the right way. And then he, Kenobi was right. Yeah. Kenobi is a little more of the observer than the aggressor that Anakin is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thought that was I personally like that because, like I said, I was expecting that we'd be getting more scenes like that.
I thought that too was the series, and unfortunately, has led up to that point. But.
And kind of the cat and mouse between Vader and Kenobi, jumping ahead a little bit here, but how they never met in this episode, but there was always, they were just moments away from each other. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's that constant chase. Vader's coming after him, and that's kind of the Vader thing. Vader doesn't run after you. He just keeps coming at you in that menacing walk. He doesn't run. He doesn't hurry. He just, marches and doesn't let anything stand in his way. And, so he's just, that constant coming at a straight line at you. And you're the one that's always running and hiding and trying to get away. And that's exactly what's going on here. Vader is just marching towards Kenobi. And Kenobi is running and ducking and trying to get away. You get a lot of that in this episode. You find out more about Reva finally. A lot of some stuff that we speculated from the get-go. And some additional things that they brought up that I wasn't so much speculating, but I'm not surprised either.
Yeah. I mean, it's a decent twist. I'm not gonna say it's not its strongest twist right now in terms of what the episode has given us. Again, based on its pacing and based on its writing, but it's a decent twist to learn that Reva's character, which I think a lot of us talked about in episode 1, that Reva clearly was a young Jedi, youngling in the beginning, who clearly saw Anakin do what he did, and it would make sense for the character to still kind of be weirdly loyal to the Jedi Order, but the only way to do it was to join the Sith and to kind of go on this undercover quest of revenge. And again, I thought it was a decent enough a twist to add to Reva's character. And in terms of her, and now since we're all on the character, how are you feeling? I guess 5 episodes into Moses Ingram's act in her portrayal of Reva. Well, I know we talked a lot about how we felt about her character and how it didn't feel like it was an actor trying to not really act as a character, but just trying to be kind of an actor his first time acting in a role like this. So she hasn't really found her cadence, her voice. Where do you feel now in episode 5 with Moses' performance so far in Reva?
I guess I've come to the point that accepting this is the way that Reva is. Mm-hmm. And let me just go back that she's definitely given up the Jedi part. She's not gone Sith. She hasn't gone fully Sith. She's kind of somewhere in that vigilante area. Mm-hmm. Kind of like almost like a Punisher.
I really didn't get. I apologize. You finish up your thought.
Because she's still going after the other Jedis. I mean, her main whale is Darth Vader, but she's going through any means possible to get there. So she's not defending and protecting other Jedi. She's using, them and killing them or doing whatever to them to get to Vader, who's her ultimate goal. She's just kind of she's really all in it just for herself and for her self-vengeance. I when she's telling the backstory about how she hid, and she hid under other fallen younglings, quite powerful. Powerful in the way of just on the emotional end, not so much how it was told to us, but just the visuals of seeing a young child having to do that to protect themselves, which I think a lot of ways is stuff like this is why they went back. I'm not sure if you noticed, but they've now put in front of all the episodes a disclaimer about potential sensitive material in light of some recent events and things that were happening. They've gone ahead and put that. So I thought that was some good writing and some good descriptions, but her portrayal, I think, is still. I don't want to knock her, but it's not the strongest portrayal.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's totally fair enough. I guess in terms of with Moses' character and you bringing that up, I think to me I've gotten okay with it. I don't know if you're not going to get a grand. You're not going to get like a grand performance out of her at this point, but I feel like for what the character is and how Reva is in terms of her character and her motives, at least I feel like that she's nailed down the motive, that she's just this almost kind of pesky, annoying person that you eventually want to be seen taken down in the beginning. She was a character that I wanted to see taken care of because I understand her ambition, but clearly her ambition is just messing everybody up. She's basically kind of like scorched earth everything right now in terms of what the Inquisitors and what the Sith Lords want to accomplish and what the Empire wants to accomplish. It feels like she's just kind of almost a powder keg, just blowing through places without really an ideal or a thought. And I feel like she just kind of, within all that, she manages to make smart moves here and there throughout all this chaos that she's given. But I want to go back to what you're saying because now, with what we've seen with episode 5, it also kind of confused me with the character, because now, like I think we remember with episode 1, it sounds like she did it all in the ideal of revenge, but then she also talked about how her friends were murdered and killed, and the fact that she wanted to get revenge for that. So it doesn't really, in a weird way, it doesn't make sense that she would go this far to murder basically her own kind within the Jedi ranks. But I guess within the position that she's in, she has to stay face in order to complete her objective. So I felt like a little confused by that, if that was the whole idea. Like, I feel like in terms of how the story kind of played out, in terms of what her real objectives were, in terms of getting to Darth Vader, feels a little bit convoluted at this point.
Where I would take that, and again, maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, you could say.
Yeah.
Is at least how she's going at Kenobi. Is that, where were you when all this was going down? Where were you to protect us?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you? Where was Qui-Gon? Where was Master Yoda? Where was all these others? The heads of the Jedi Council. Where were they to protect the temple. So
Okay.
I think in some ways she blames them just as much as she blames Vader. She blames Vader more, but she's associating blame to them as well for not being there to protect these kids in their trust.
Which, if that were to be the case, why be an inquisitor? Why just go lone wolf on everybody at this point? I guess, again, maybe because being the inquisitor was the closest way you can get towards Vader, I guess.
Yeah, that would be
probably the only real answer that I can kind of think of, though. But again, it seemed like it went in the life of killing even your own Jedi brethren to kind of pull it off. That's why when she said all that, it's like, I mean, you're willing to kill off your fellow Jedi that went into hiding just so you can get to Vader, which a story. Spoiler, she didn't win. So it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, it is what it is in the whole situation. Can I throw another character? Tala Dorath, played Indira Varma. What were your thoughts with the character that we've had for a short period of time within this episode? What were your thoughts about her?
We've had her 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Obviously we're going into more descriptive details and things that happen, aka spoilers. If you haven't seen it, then you wait on this episode. I'm sad to see her go. I was starting to enjoy her character.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Particularly after the last episode, episode 4 or part 4, where she got pretty, excuse the term, ballsy, where she was going out there and standing up to. She was in the lion's den. Literally in the lion's den, and telling off that security officer and pulling up, do you know who I am? I am your superior. Why are you questioning me? And just putting up this whole front, and getting him to the point that he would back down, and just pushing as many buttons to make him back down. And then this other officer comes and starts questioning her. And she offs the guy in the back.
Yeah.
Takes him off the, out of the room there and deals with him.
Mm-hmm.
So she's one tough cookie, and I was liking the relationship that was building between Kenobi and her, and the kind of the way that they played off each other, Ewan McGregor and the actress. I have trouble with her name.
Indira Varma, I believe that's how it's pronounced. I probably butchered that name, but if Indira Varma is what I'm picking up.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones fame.
Yes, I actually remember her from a show that was canceled long ago called Human Target, coming from Marvel's rival company based off of certain comic book characters. So, but that show was canceled and debunked years ago. But that's where I remember this actress, and she was very, very good in that. So. But yeah, I you know what, I
she was also in the HBO series Rome, which I've started watching, and been enjoyable so far.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check out Rome then. I have to check out that show. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Matt. I think her character was fantastic. The way that they kind of had her set up, it seemed like it almost sounded like they were going to set up almost like a romance angle with was Obi-Wan. So at least it would have been very interesting that because within the time Obi-Wan hasn't, I guess because of Jedi Order, you're not allowed to have any kind of romance, which clearly that was broken. But because there's no Jedi Order, you would know it would be nice to kind of see at least some kind of budding romance happen. And I thought this would have been the woman to kind of, be the balance to Obi-Wan in a sense. So, unfortunately to see this character kind of not be here, unfortunately, moving forward, was a bit of a disappointment because she was a fantastic character in terms of, like you said, her grit and her knowledge and her wit to be able to stand down the guard, to be able to get in, to be able to think them. And just because she was just an overall, like you said, badass of a character, that woman's strength of her, which was fantastic. So, yeah, I really enjoyed her character for the very short period that we had her. Also, we finally got the introduction of Ice Cube's son making his appearance.
Yes, well, he showed up briefly in 3.
Yeah, he did. Okay, yeah, okay. So did he? I didn't see. I thought 4. It was 4.
4. Sorry. He showed up briefly before, but he was really more substantial in this one.
Yeah.
Just to go back on Tala quickly. Yeah. I was expecting the same thing, that this to be a romantic interest for Kenobi. In some other stories, there has been romantic interests for his character. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting, for the cinematic end, this is where they were going, and I guess not. And just the way that she exited too was just so well done on the emotional level. It was very powerful, and great acting by her. Kudos on the writing and directing for it. That was a very emotional and powerful moment. And then Ice Cube's son. What a cool character.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. Actually, to hop back to that moment, when that moment happened, I thought it was a little again, I guess it comes back to more of the, when that moment happened, I was again very disappointed that they were willing to kill off such a really well fleshed character that I felt like has been really well taught. Out of all of the characters right now, she was the best fleshed out character throughout this whole series. So to kind of see her to see them kind of kill her off as soon as they did actually quite shocked me, because she was really the strongest character out of this whole entire series.
True.
But going back to O'Shea Jackson Jr., I was kind of surprised to see how he would end up being in a Star Wars a show. And it was decent. It was decent. I think I feel like with certain actors, and I'm actually going to ask you a question after this, and maybe you tell me what you're feeling about it. But you may hear with this with my response. I feel like certain actors just want to be in Star Wars, just the fact that it's Star Wars and it's just the coolest thing right now on the planet. It just seems like, oh, dude, if I can be on Star Wars right now, that'd be so dope right now. Whatever it be acting or whatever it be being costumes or stuff like that. So I think more of this is just like a fanboy guest star. Like, I feel like where O'Shea Jackson kind of comes off, like, I don't know, he was really embodying the character more that, like, he knows that he's a fan on one of the more cooler properties right now that Disney owns.
That's nothing new.
I know.
You got several examples of that happening in I think even all the way back to Empire. Or definitely Return of the Jedi, that you've had celebrity people just making quick cameos just to be part of it. Most notable one that comes to my mind off the top at this moment is in Force Awakens.
Are you talking Daniel Craig?
Daniel Craig is one of the
007 himself.
Stormtroopers. Yep, he's the one that Rey confuses his mind and he walks off.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have blanking on her name. The actress from Felicity. Carrie Russell. Appears in Rise of Skywalker. She's Poe's kind of one that knows Poe's secrets where the skeletons are kept.
Is she the one in the helmet, in the mask?
Yes.
Okay.
You never see her face, but that's Carrie Russell. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's not a new thing.
And sorry to cut you off. Only a couple of episodes back, we knew that Zach Braff was one of the mole character. Yeah. So. And
the robot was somebody too, wasn't he?
Was it? I don't know.
I remember hearing that the robot was I forget now. I saw that he was somebody, and I just completely forget now who it was. But it was somebody else as well. But yeah. So Zach was the voice of the mole character. I can't find it. Then B, there's a performance capture artist, but who did provide the voice for? Well, Ned B was the robot, right? Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So these are normal. Well, even Mandalorian, that happens.
Yeah. No, and I know. It's just, I guess it's just one of my I guess my nerdy pet peeves right now in terms of where Star Wars has become. But again, it doesn't really take away anything from what Star Wars is at the moment. But it's just a popular franchise that people want to be in. But other than how the episode kind of went, it was. Yeah, I felt very beat by beat in terms of what happened and what they're trying to accomplish, and I think really the biggest thing that you took out of this episode was, in terms of seeing more of Hayden's acting finally in this particular episode, and just kind of the reveal of Reva's real intent throughout the entire time, which felt at times very haphazard and clumsy at moments, getting up to this point. But yeah, I think that's where we're at the moment in terms of where the series is going to go in Obi-Wan. Also, we only have how many more episodes we have left?
One. This was the penultimate episode.
Okay, so we have 6. Okay, so the last episode will be airing this week.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Wow. Very.
It's been a roller coaster. In some ways.
If it's been a very low tide of a roller coaster.
I'm not saying that. What type of roller coaster? But it's. In many ways, it hasn't been
Magic Mountain. It hasn't been Space Mountain. Let's just say that.
No, it's been quick up, quick downs, some left, some rights.
Yeah.
It's kind of been pulling you in a lot of different directions. All in all, this episode, like I said before, this is kind of the episode how I expected the series to be more like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little disappointed it took us this long to get to that point. I'm happy that we finally did get to this point.
Yeah.
I all in all, I enjoyed this episode. This was, to me, my favorite, or one of my top episodes so far.
Cool. Okay. I will say I will agree to certain extents that this was a decent episode, but I feel like in terms of the marketing and the excitement of Obi-Wan, I feel like what we've gotten up to this point, I would have to say feels a bit of a letdown. That's why when you mentioned the roller coaster part, I went to say, well, I wouldn't say it's more of a roller coaster. I would say more in the realm of Magic Teacups at the moment in terms of like its slower pace and its complete round and round, because I felt like just the marketing that Disney has done for Obi-Wan, and knowing that he is one of the more titular characters in the Star Wars universe, we get to know the backstory. It does feel a bit underwhelming of what they have accomplished so far, to a point, like you said, to now be at episode 5, where you really see the dramatic effect now taking place. Which one would feel like this would be the climax, the building climax into something's done, but it just started to get good, and now we're at the end of the ride. It feels a bit of a downer for how this Obi-Wan series has displayed itself.
Right, and I've been saying, you haven't been on these episodes, but I've been saying, and I particularly said it last week, that I think next week's episode, I think once we get the full picture, the full story, how everything plays out, can affect how these other episodes played out.
I want to agree with you with that point. Like, I really would want to, if you were able to just watch it, say, as a movie. I don't know. I don't know if you were to give me this as a film versus a 30-minute chunks. I don't know if I could really go with that, just because of how the pacing had started. You know, right. It'd be a very difficult thing to say that, okay, if you were to watch it as a film, that it would be able to meet, because I would still have the issues, even because, again, we've already accepted that these shows are like 30 to an hour a minute movies. They have movie budgets to them, so they're treated as such. They're just television shows. So to just kind of squish them all together, I still think at the moment I would still have my same issues, just in terms of its pace and its plot development, not really hitting the crescendos that it needed to make the emphasis that it needed. It just seems like they're separate beats right now, and these are just kind of being sprung kind of all at the last minute, when not really having the proper development, the proper build up. Like you said, 5 seems like we're what I will give you this. The more that I talk, I think about it more as I don't know, I apologize. I know this is a Disney film, but I know we're busy, but I might have to bring a Six Flags reference.
Go right ahead. I've done it.
Kingdom is it Kingdom Ka, which is basically you shoot up and it goes up there. It goes like it shoots up, it propels you high, and it comes back down. That's King?
Yeah, Kingdom Ka. That's the one that you go tallest roller coaster in the continental United States. Yep. Yes,
that's what I felt like Obi-Wan has been up to this point. I feel like
again, the roller coaster.
Yes, roller coaster situation. You're right. So in a way it does, but it feels like, but I think in your way you were hoping like more of a Space Mountain, where it has the ups, the turns, the corkscrews, and everything in between. This feels more like a fast shoot of, okay, you're going really fast, but nothing's really happening, and now you hit that velocity turn really all the way up. You make that corkscrew, and then now the ride's over. That's kind of where I feel that we're at the moment with Obi-Wan Kenobi with the series.
Yeah, I could see that. I can see that. So that being said, on a scale 1 to 10, where would you place this episode? Just this episode.
From the scale of 1 to 10, for this episode,
Just this episode.
Wow, I would say. This was a little bit more. There were things happening in this episode, so I'll give it a 6. I think it's okay. I think this was an okay episode. Again, it just feels like, like I said, the crescendo for everything to kind of now be happening now instead of having that steady gradual build up and then leading to the finale. It just feels like there's a lot of important stuff happened in this episode when it should have been better spread out through the past episodes. So it means that there's going to be a lot that needs to be taken care of in the final 6 episodes, which I don't know, have they revealed the time, the time length for that particular episode, or is it going to stay within the 30 minutes? The 30-minute block.
They have not, as of yet, said how long this episode is. I've heard some rumors that it could be even 90 minutes, which they've done that with some of the other ones where you've had some longer episodes towards the end. So I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility. So I'm not expecting another 45 minute episode. So we will see. But no, they have not officially revealed how long episode 6 will be. Not as that's something they've generally kept pretty close to the vest with a lot of these series. Just trying to see quickly if there's any more recent episode 5 highlights. Easter eggs, no. Nothing to say. So it could be anything. We will find out on Wednesday, day this episode drops, or maybe I will be generous and this will come out on Tuesday. So we shall see. I like I said, I personally enjoyed this episode. This is, like I said, the one that I've been waiting for. I like the conflict. I like the psychological battle. Obi-Wan saying, leaving his weapons behind and to confront the Empire. Saying, sometimes you need more, you don't need weapons to fight a battle. And just becoming more confident in himself and being able to use the Force and being able to control the situation without weapons, realizing that weapons aren't the best answer for people to survive. The emotional turns that he had to go through, losing Tala, and having that personal loss to help propel him forward. It's part of the hero's journey. That type of stuff does happen. Outsmarting Vader from thinking back, okay, this is what he's done in the past, and this is how he will continue to act, because Vader has kind of that immature child syndrome, where he wants it his way. He's just going brash. He's just going head forward. He's just headstrong. He doesn't think. He just reacts. So this is how he's going to react to things. So I'm going to stay one step ahead of him. And then the lightsaber battle between Reva and Vader, where Vader was one step ahead of Reva the whole time, and he never draws his lightsaber.
No, he just uses Force, which again wanted to display his mastery of the Force, as well as the power of the Sith and the dark side, which I thought that was cool. I thought that was really interesting. But what I found more impressive was what really showed his strength was him taking down that ship.
Yeah,
that was more impressive than the actual fight itself.
I
found
do
that
agree.
That was more impressive than the actual fight, because again, I've been a bit disappointed with the lightsaber work within this show. You'd think with so much advancement between really cool choreography that we've seen over the years, but then again, I'm also thinking that maybe they had to kind of keep it more mute and slow just to fit within the time frame that was between New Hope and the episode series, because again, it wasn't as big and fancy. But then again, you think about episode 1, where you had Dark Maul with the double sabers, and he was doing backflips and all this other cool stuff. So,
well, I do have an answer for that.
It's interesting, but yeah, no, please.
Is that because Reva is so? Yes, she's an Inquisitor, but they're not really trained. They're more of a presence. So they're not. They lack the lightsaber skills, and that's something that has shown in a lot of the other stuff with the Inquisitors. That hence why their lightsabers do so many tricks on their own, because they don't have those skills, and they're not that in touch with the Force. So
that's right, because anybody can pick up a token. Anybody can pick up a lightsaber, but there's only a few people that actually have Force or Sith training to be able to truly wield it,
and the mastery of it. And there's a difference between a apprentice and a knight.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of where she never left that apprentice stage. So that's hence why Vader was it was so kind of, he was toying with her.
It was so one-sided.
Yeah. I could really kill you. I could just take you down anytime I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to toy with you, because how you toyed with me and try to drag me along, I'm going to do that to you now.
Yeah.
So it was I've stated my feeling towards how some of the lightsaber battles are handled in Star Wars. I've never been as impressed as I felt I should be until some of the slightly more recent ones. But yeah, it was the him taking down the ship was a lot more impressive, and you really get the sheer power of Vader of taking down an entire a spaceship with its full rocket blasting, and he just grabs the thing and rips the side out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a piece of like a paper mache.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love those moments, like the end of Rogue One, where you get that power of him. He just like flings people left and right. So it's those are the moments I like seeing of Vader, because we've always been told that he's a bad guy, but we never see him being the bad guy, and now we finally see him being a bad guy, and now we understand why he's, everyone fears him.
I agree.
I'm gonna go a bit higher on this one. I'm gonna give it a 9. It's the highest mark I've given any of the episodes so far.
Wow.
Again, because this is what I anticipated and wanted, and I actually did get it. And it hit a number of notes for me that I enjoyed, and was happy that I finally did get it. Unfortunately, like I said, I had to wait this long.
Mm.
But we shall see again what next week the final episode brings us.
Agree.
Or in a couple of days when this final episode brings us. So. And on that note, thank you, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Isaac for joining me this week as we discussed episode 5, the penultimate episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney+. What is your thoughts on episode 5? We want to know. Please let us know. Join the conversation on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Disney Marvels Podcast. On Instagram at Disney Marvels Podcast, TikTok at Disney Marvels Podcast, and on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can check out the audio versions of the podcast, plus some other things. Stay tuned for those other things right now. You can also leave a voice message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record a message electronically on your tablet, smartphone, computer, whatever, and email it to disneymarvels@gmail.com. You can also email any questions or suggestions you may have to that address as well, disneymarvels@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the latest Disney Marvels blog at disneymarvels.blogspot.com, which I will update that at some point. And links to all of these are in the show notes. And as I was mentioning about YouTube, it is the summertime, and I had a lot of fun last year doing Disney Marvels Podcast Live on Facebook. Well, this year I'm thinking of switching it up and bringing that to you on YouTube. So Disney Marvels Podcast Live will be returning, probably Saturday nights again. I'm still hammering out the details, but this year I believe I am bringing it to YouTube. I'm going to try it out over there first and see how it goes, see what happens, and we'll see from there. So stay tuned here for that information, but keep checking out there. Stay on the social networks. I'll put information out there to keep everyone abreast of the situation. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have these days, and I know getting to spend this time together actually really means a lot to me. It means to us, not just me, but the whole Disney Marvel podcast family, everyone that's been on the show. Getting to spend time with you guys really means a lot. We can't thank you enough. Please go home, go on your podcast thing of choice, Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, and leave a rating. Leave a rating and review. This really helps the show. They will promote the show as well. If you don't feel like doing that, share it out on the social networks, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever you're on. Whatever you're on, share out a link to the show. Tag us too on there, so that was the way we can thank you and share as well. And let people know. The bigger the Disney Marvel family, the better. Won't believe they're a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really help the show out. This way we get you some movie reviews and some other stuff that's going on. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support, or find our Patreon page. Or you can even check out our merchandise shop. Get yourself some fun, cool Disney Marvel podcast stuff there. You can find links to all these on the show notes as well. Because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. In Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaws is seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this the next time you feel broken. I think it's very appropriate for this week's episode for Kenobi. Now, I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. Happiness is a state of mind. It's just according to the way you look at things. So I think happiness is contentment, but it doesn't mean you have to have wealth. All individuals are different, and some of us wouldn't be satisfied with just carrying out a routine job and being happy. Again, that's from Walt Disney. As I always say, folks, be your own hero. Never give up. Never give in. There's a light inside of you. Let it shine. Let it shine for the world to see, because it is beautiful, like you are also beautiful. Thank you again for listening, everyone. And I'll see you next time.